Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing my May wrap up. So during the month of May, I read 10 books, which is a very large increase from the last couple of months. And I'm very happy to finally be back to reading. So with that said, let's get into the books. The first book I read was Weve, the Stars by Hafsa Fazal. This is the second in the conclusion to We Hunt the Flames. It's a duology, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Things got so intense. I love the character development, I love the sibling relationship, and I really liked seeing both Nasser and Safara really find themselves before committing to any sort of relationship, and I felt like that was very important within the story. I loved learning more about the magic system as well, and I just found that this was what I wanted, and I really enjoyed reading it. I can't talk much about it because it's a sequel. Here we have an ebook, which is Rule of Wolves by Lee Bardugo. This is the sequel and conclusion to the King of Scars duology. This follows Nikolai and Nina, this duology does, and kind of takes place after Six of Crows duology. Anyways, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I had a few larger problems, like I felt like Nina lost a lot of her character, but I did love Zoya, and I loved seeing members of the Crows come in, but it was very and I felt like some of the things that were brought back didn't need to be brought back, but overall it was just Similarly, another book for me was Wicked Like a Wildfire Flower by Lana Popovic, which I also gave 3 out of 5 stars. This book is so beautifully written, but it's so confusing, and it kind of ignored the child abuse that was happening, because Melina, while she was treated fairly well by their mother, the other sister, Iris, was constantly physically, emotionally, and verbally abused by her. And it was just very messed up. I loved Melina and her girlfriend, but I did not like any of the other romances. They felt very rushed. It's just kind of there's just so much missing to the story, and it made it really hard for me to follow it. And we have a romance book, which is Something to Talk About by Muriel Wilsoner, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. This book is about a famous Hollywood star and her assistant who get caught into a scandal, and while they're trying to prove that they're not together, they start to realize that they do like each other. It's an experience. I found it very entertaining. However, I wish I saw more of them together. I always feel like it just ended when we were seeing them together. Although I did enjoy the conversations around Hollywood culture, as well as the family problems, especially when it comes to coming in. It was very cute. It's very cute. I really loved both Joe and Emma, and it was just really nice. Okay. I also read The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It's a beautiful book. I loved seeing all the characters' thoughts and motivations, but my biggest love of it was from the folklore elements of the story. The folklore was so cool. I loved seeing it. I loved seeing it in conversation with Christianity. It was just so good. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely interested in continuing on with the series. Okay, next I read another AMP book, which was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. There isn't much to say. Like, I could lower it really easily. Like, it was just very fast paced. I was just wanting to constantly read it, but like even a day after, I couldn't remember what happened. It was just so forgettable. And I just don't remember the characters' names or anything. I don't even know remember the main character's name is. And I think it's a little sad, especially since it had the potential to be so memorable. The next book I read was The Lost Apothecary, which is by Sarah Penner, and I read it for the Full Moon Book Club. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but it was a really beautiful book. It was so much more than I was expecting. I loved Nellis and Eliza's story. I did not really care much for Caroline, but I think that her storyline was very important. It was just so beautiful, and I really loved the apothecary elements. It was just such a beautiful story, and I definitely think that more people should be reading it. Like, it's really basic story, but it's still so good even though it's so basic. Yeah. I also read The Ones We're Meant to Find by John He. I give this 4 out of 5 stars. This book is complex. The plot was very wishy-washy. I enjoyed the characters really well, but then the big element that I really enjoyed was the commentary about climate change and global warming, with the natural disasters getting stronger. And it's definitely something that we can see currently happening in real life. Like, this summer we pretty much had no snow. This winter we didn't have much snow, while normally we had several feet, constantly shoveling for months and months on end. And it was definitely a great commentary on natural disasters, and I think that it definitely should be. I definitely would like to study it more along that line. The next book I read was I own that one. The next book I read was Lore by Alexandra Bracken, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I have thoughts. I didn't care about the romance. Didn't need to happen. Castor didn't give 2 shits about him. He's just constantly complaining and bitching. Found Lore as a character to be very interesting. The story was very engaging. I really enjoyed the plot of the story. I loved the Greek mythology elements within it. What's the big thing that I cared? I wish I got more miles. I really wanted more miles. I would have liked to see more about the godhood. That's what I would have really loved. But yeah, overall, pretty good. Finally, my last book that I read was Look at the Titanic by Stacey Lee. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is a historical fiction novel which talks about that deals with the Chinese that were aboard the Titanic, since they don't really have their stories shared. And it follows a set of twins, Jamie and Flora, and the Titanic. It was just it was wonderful. I did not enjoy how neither of the twins really were willing to see through the other's eyes. Although I did enjoy that they, when it come down to it, they backed each other up. No matter what. Something else that I really enjoyed was how the closer you got to it was like labeled with the dates, and the closer you got to the date the Titanic actually sunk, you could almost feel the fear and stuff coming, because you know that like the ship is sinking soon. And at the beginning of the book, it's only 6 Chinese people survived out of the 8 that was on board, which is pretty good, but like their stories aren't told. You see all these characters and you don't really know them. And it was just like, you kind of were scared that like, what if these characters that you care about in some capacity are the ones who died. And it was just very intense book. It was very intense, and I have to say. But yeah, that's it. That was the 10 books that I read during the month of May. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.